I'm here today with Jody Samways, and he is a founder of Pull Up A Sandbag and a former PWR soldier. We're here in the beautiful, I can't remember what's it called again.
Samet Nangshi.
Yeah, and today we're just going to chat about Pull Up A Sandbag because a few people would have seen me posting reels recently within the last week, and maybe they might think it's just a lad's holiday, but it's not. It's a veterans retreat, and there's a lot more that goes into that. So me and Jody will have a chat, and hopefully we'll explain it to you. Now, for anyone who's not heard of Pull Up A Sandbag, what is it, and what made you start Pull Up A Sandbag?
Oh, so it stems from quite a few years ago, to be honest with you. I got diagnosed that I started struggling with PTSD after my operational tour in 2011. And then I started seeing a therapist around 2015 and struggled for quite a few years. And then I didn't get a diagnosis of PTSD until 2019. And then after that, I started doing some helping veterans, and I found like this new passion that I found that I could find a passion in helping other veterans that were struggling mentally. And they come at a stage when we had a couple of guys that committed suicide, like back to back, maybe like 3 or 4 guys back to back in 2017. And I got invited onto a course, which was a peer-to-peer support course. Ended up going to America to teach police officers, North Carolina police officers for around about a year or so.
So he's talking a little bit about your own struggles. How much of Pull Up A Sandbag would you say has come from that experience?
Oh yeah, all of it. I'd say I really went through some dark times, and I think coming out the other side of that, going through like post-traumatic growth as opposed to like going through the negative and growing from that, I really found like positivity and like some real passion in helping other veterans. So since leaving the military, I never really had any of. I'd always said to myself when I left the army that I would never do a job that I wasn't as passionate for as I was the army. I was real green when I was in the army. I really did love it, and I still do. Still think I loved all my experiences in the army. So, Pull Up A Sandbag came from the idea of helping veterans, and then kind of going through my own struggles and having this experience of Thailand and experiencing the peace and the moments that you can find out here, as I'm sure you've had this week.
Yeah, it's been amazing.
And I just wanted to collectively bring veterans together. It's not about teaching them the depths of psychology, it's just about creating that space, putting veterans in that space. And as you've seen this week, most of the magic happens in that space and not in, routine lessons or scheduled lessons, etc.
Yeah, there's been some really sort of intense moments, but in a good way this week, that I was not expecting. And I took a lot of stuff away because it's stuff that I've never spoken about, dealt with, that we've done this week, which, has been done wonders for me already, and what we've been here half a week, so bring on the next half and let's see what happens. Yeah.
And we haven't really purposefully gone down those routes, have we? They've kind of just naturally happened just because.
Yeah, because of the environment and the settings we're put in, and you're around a group of veterans who all have these similar experiences, it just happens naturally. Yeah.
Really good.
So a lot of veterans, they struggle with like losing the tribe and that sense of purpose. Is that something you're trying to recover, do you think?
Yeah, I think our sense of purpose and our identity is kind of like the main thing that we kind of struggle with without probably putting a finger on it when we leave. A lot of guys I think, can question why they feel like they're struggling if they didn't actually experience a real traumatic experience, because they're guys that do struggle with those kind of things. And then I think guys question that and I think we don't pay enough attention to our identity loss as we leave the military. I don't think we're prepared enough for that.
Yeah, no, it was a massive culture shift for me when I left the military. I was fairly lucky. I landed on my feet straight away with my own business, with something that I was very much interested in. But as we've spoke about previously, that didn't remain the case. That sort of switched up. So I started on a high a lot, and now I'm coming back to a high. But a lot of people get out initially and they start in that sort of low period, don't they? Trying to struggle to find that identity.
It's important this week. I think we found out we've gone through like strengths of guys that they felt the army supported with their own real core strengths that they hold as a person as opposed to what the army taught them, and then how they've transitioned into different kind of strengths and how their values changed as they left the army and who they are now as opposed to how we were operating in the army, because those two worlds are different environments, and when you try and operate as a soldier in a civilian environment, detrimental to all areas of your life.
Yeah, that was a big insight for me because that's something I'd never really actively thought about. Right, so we're finishing up our conversation from the other day because the camera overheated where we was. It was absolutely red hot, wasn't it?
Really hot.
Yeah. So following on from what we was talking about the other day, people might look at this retreat and they might see some of the videos online and think, oh, it's a little bit of a lad's holiday. But what is it actually? What would you say to those people?
Yeah, so it looks like a bit of a holiday on social media and stuff because we've done so many amazing activities,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But it's in between those activities that we haven't really posted so much about, and it's kind of like those soft skills that we've done around like our personality types and working on the area of our life since leaving the military, as opposed to concentrating on when we was in the military.
Yeah.
So for me, it's mainly about those areas, and we do the work that we don't normally do without being put into the space where we can do it. And activities in between are the wind down, so like we do the main work and the group work, and guys have those conversations, and then we are able to go and unwind and get rid of those conversations that we had, even if they weren't heavy. It's something that you take your mind off and go straight back into doing another activity.
Yeah, I found them soft skills. I think for me, the little bits in between that people haven't seen quite so much at the moment, that for me has been the best part about me being away here in this environment, and that's my key takeaway. Not the activities. The activities have been amazing. They have been fucking, they're all a lot of them are once in a lifetime experiences. But for me, them soft skills, the Lego stuff we've been doing, the talks in the minibuses that have rolled on from them activities, that for me has been my key takeaway. Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like we spoke about it earlier, that when we was in the military and veteran and military guys will meet up, they talk about what they're doing in the army, and now we're all out. We're kind of put into a different space where we talk about what we've got in common on our transition and
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
what happened since leaving.
yeah. So looking ahead now, what is your vision for Pull Up A Sandbag, and where do you sort of see it going?
So this is something I've really kind of like found difficult to explain because I'm the person that's got a big vision in my mind, but I struggle to put all the details down on a page to explain it to people, which is why. So the first four retreats have already been funded. So we've got this one just happened July, September, and October that are fully booked. And those retreats were funded in order because I knew I had to start this business as such, like if I was to start a normal business, I would have invested that money into that. So for me to start this and to kind of create my vision for people to then see what I'm trying to do here, kind of going through that process now. The main goal is obviously, as you've seen this week, is to get guys to normalize conversations that we haven't had or we don't normally have, and not just normalizing between us when we're in person, but like the YouTube content that we're doing and the videos that we're having those conversations that guys wanted to talk about in order for people, veterans at home, to relate to that are in a similar position. And also, just as important is our families. Like when we come back from tour, like we don't really talk about any of our experiences.
Yeah, no, yeah,
We don't really let anybody know what's going on outside our mind, and it's always kind of like just this guesswork of what we go through. So it's also really important that we have those conversations, and then our families are able to watch this content, and they're able to kind of not necessarily understand it, but maybe get more of an insight into what does go on inside our minds, whether it's from the struggles that we go through on operations or the struggle of transitional stress when we do leave the
yeah.
military.
Because people will be watching, especially the clips I put out and other people will be putting out, and maybe think it's funded from, somewhere else, corporate. And at the moment, it's all come out of your own pocket, like you said, But the vision is to create something that's self-funding, and the way people can do that is by engaging first of all with the content, following, liking, subscribing, all that sort of good stuff that you would do. Also, if you're watching this, he's got a buy me a coffee link or whatever it's called, which I'll put below. Corporate sponsors, stuff like that. That's all the things. If you're out there and you're watching this now, there's a corporate thing, and you're looking for somewhere where you need to, put a bit of money into something, then I think this is an amazing thing to do at the moment. And at the moment, you are going through that sort of charity process, aren't you?
Yeah, so we've got a charity application started. That's going to take 6 to 9 months, I think, to go through.
Yeah.
And I know that even once that started, in the meantime, I have to have something tangible for people to see for what they're donating to. I think that's
Yeah.
really important for me. And
Yeah, they need to understand, and it's also proof of concept that this works. Us, the first retreat. This is now the last day. I'm flying home tonight. You know, this is proof of concept that this works. And you know, I've seen a massive change in the blokes who I didn't know on day one to to now. You know, so yeah, it's been an amazing experience, mate. So
good.
yeah,
Thank you for coming out, mate. I
cheers,
really
thank
appreciate
you.
it.
But yeah, go check out Jody. Pull Up A Sandbag. I'll throw all of his links below. Go and support him because what he is doing is actually truly amazing. So yeah, cheers. Thanks for watching, guys.
Cheers, guys.